This is DX Central Live.
Stand by for a transmission from DX Central. This broadcast is not a test. To confirm reception, please tune your radio to any AM or FM frequency and report your observations during this transmission. Again, this is not a test. Stand by for a transmission from DX Central. This broadcast is not a test. To confirm reception, please tune your radio to any AM or FM frequency and report your observations during this transmission. Again, this is not a test.
DX Central Live is brought to you in part by...
Since 1933, the National Radio Club has been serving AMDXers while providing some of the most in-depth information in the hobby. From the annual NRC AM log, a must-have reference for domestic station information, to antenna DX News Member Bulletin, which is filled with station information updates, domestic and international loggings, and a whole lot more. Become a member today. For more information, log on to nationalradioclub.org. That's nationalradioclub.org. While the HF bands can be filled with entertaining and intriguing transmissions, how do you know when and where to look? Let Teague Publishing's Global Radio Guide lead the way. In addition to its exhaustive list of time and frequency for international broadcasters, radio hobby icon Gail Van Horn brings you equipment reviews, an SDR buyer's guide, feature articles, and more. Pick up your copy today. Visit teaguepublishing.com for more information. That's teaguepublishing.com. From the pages of its DX Monitor member bulletin, members of the International Radio Club of America share their domestic and international AMDX loggings. In its Mexican log, a wealth of information can be found of stations from south of the border. Technical guides, sunrise, sunset maps, and more make the IRCA a must-join for any AMDXer. For more information, log on to ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org.
Through crashes of static in quiet hours, we listen. In languages we can scarcely understand, and of places we have only visited in our dreams, we listen. Incessantly, we perfect our array of aerials, receivers, and resources. We refine our skills and our techniques so that we might listen. We are DX Central, and we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
From the Gulf South
To your corner of the world.
this is DX Central Live.
Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It's in Mandeville, Louisiana. Good Friday evening to you, my friends. It's week 3 of the new season, and man, we've had ourselves a ball already. This has been, and I don't think I'm exaggerating. I've got the data to back it up. This has been one of the best weeks of AMDX I have ever had as a DXer. Plain and simple. So much to talk about tonight. Lots of shout outs to get to. Did the data dump? This has been the best. December and January have been the most productive months of AMDX that I have ever had. In 30 years of AMDX, I have never had a 2-month span like this. It's been unbelievable. So we've got a lot to talk about tonight. I want to hear your shout outs. Got the shout out form link in the chat, so make sure you check that. I'll be putting it back in again here in a few minutes. And we'll also be doing some other stuff, some interesting stuff. We'll be talking about an antenna that's been working really well for me here in Mandeville. That's the PA0 RDT Mini Whip. So we'll be talking a bit about that. A lot of folks who have been asking me about that antenna and the performance of it, what I've been getting out of it. We're going to talk about that tonight. And I'm actually going to be working on a video here soon. Once we put up another one at Mom's house, we'll be putting up a video about how to construct one of these, or how to at least put it up in the air, so to speak. There's nothing to build, really. It's already put together. You just got to put it up in the air. So we'll talk about how that works. We've got a great week of the Frequency Challenge ahead of us, but first we have to close out this week, and that means we're going to be looking here to start us off at the top of the hour at 1100 to 1100. We'll be talking about what we've been hearing this week on those frequencies. And we'll be getting ready for the next week coming up here in about an hour, a little over an hour. Week 4 of the medium wave. I'll get it down a second. Frequency Challenge. What we have coming up on that. So much to get to, my friends. So much to talk about. And of course, we have your stuff, what you've been hearing, because you guys have been hearing some amazing stuff too. Been social media and on the Slack channel, just amazed at what everybody's been hearing. Transatlantic stuff the last couple days has really been flaring up. Down in the long wave, I've seen you guys tonight talking about long wave stuff. Man, you guys are getting really, really good stuff. We actually got a little bit of that transatlantic stuff. It's an easy one that everybody else gets. 891 Algeria. We'll talk about that. But got in a little bit of that action this week. So hopefully you're staying warm. I know the weather's been kind of for a lot of us. We got down to 18 degrees, I think, Wednesday morning. after the ice storm that we had. Was it Monday night, Tuesday night? I forget what it was. We had a little ice in here, so I had to dust off the ice off the wires and the super loops and that kind of stuff. So hopefully you have come out of that unscathed, not any damage to your antennas. I'll put it that way. And hopefully everything is going great for you guys on that front. You're staying warm, staying cozy, and we may have some warmer weather coming, so maybe that'll be a good time to sit back and do some DX, right? All right, we're going to go ahead and jump into it here in a few moments with some live AM DX. We've got so much DX I want to talk about tonight. So let's go ahead and get a little started early. Of course, we got our top of the hour alert coming up here in a little bit, but we're going to dive into some AM DX and give you a tour of what we got on the shack so far. So this live AM DX session brought to you by the folks at the International Radio Club of America, ircaonline.org. You want me to turn up the volume a little bit on the voice? How about that? Is that a little bit better now? I got the volume knob right here. I can crank it. So let me know, Sean, if that sounds a little bit better. This live DX session brought to you by the International Radio Club of America, ircaonline.org is where you want to go for more information about becoming a member. And I hope that you do, because there's a lot of great information there for you. Mexican log, slogan list, all kinds of great stuff. And plus the DX monitor bulletin, so you can see whatever the folks are hearing, and that gives you an idea of some stuff that you can try for. So we have our usual main rig here set up, the Perseus SDR with our Jaguar software. A little bit different orientation of the antennas, though. Been doing some swapping around on some antennas. I actually, after last week's show, the next day, I think it was on Saturday, went out and put up a brand new antenna. So we're going to talk about that a bit. But on this antenna here, we've got two. We've got this SDR, we got two antennas. We have our northwest-southeast Superloops. The northwest-southeast is at 20-foot by 97-foot long. And then we have a kind of northeast, or I guess east-northeast or north-northeast, something like in there, antenna that's a 22 by 73-foot long. And it is another Superloop, and it is oriented around 15 degrees on one side, 195 on the back side. That's the one I had last week. The northwest is at 305, and the southeast is at 125 on the other side of that antenna. Both of those are vactrol controlled, so we can dial in a null and make it unidirectional. So we got those two on the Perseus. And over here on the AirSpy, HF Plus Discovery, we have our SDR Sharp software, AirSpy HF Plus Discovery for our SDR, and the antenna. We have two coming into a quantum phaser. Oh, forgot to mention the Perseus has a Lankford-Misek phaser. We're running on that one. And on this one with the AirSpy, we have the quantum phaser. And on that quantum phaser, we have two antennas. We have our PA0 RDT mini whip, which is what you're seeing on screen now. That's currently live with the PA0 RDT mini whip. And then we have our new antenna. This is a north-south antenna that is up in the front yard, Superloop. Put it up Saturday night, and it is 12 feet high. I can't go too high because I got power lines I have to contend with. So it's only 12 feet high, but it's 56 feet long. When I looked at the schematics and the performance metrics on Bruce Conti's website, Bamlog, for the Superloop at that length, 12 by 50 or so, it was actually pretty good. So I felt pretty good about putting up an antenna, a north-south antenna in that direction, and it has not disappointed me at all this week. It has been absolutely crushing it. We're going to talk about why a little bit later on. So those are the antennas. We got three different Superloops. We got the PA0 RDT mini whip, and we got the Perseus SDR and the AirSpy. So let's start off with the Perseus and get ready for our first top of the hour of the night coming up here in just a little bit. But first, we're going to start here on 1140 and see what we got. Let's start with the northwest antenna. I haven't heard Idaho yet this week. Let's see if we can make it happen. Let's see if we can get Idaho in here. Hey, Jeff, that is a plug-in. It is the Magic Eye plug-in. Yusuf actually recommended this one to me. I'll throw the link for it here into the chat. This is a new version. That is a new version of SDR Sharp, but that meter comes from the plugin. So So we've got a nice Spanish station here on 1140 right now on the Northwest wire. My guess is that's probably Dallas KHFX. Let's see if we can dial in a little resistance on the backside to play with the null a little bit and the antenna pattern a little. It's got a bunch of different options actually as well. Let me show you really quick. It's got like one of these. You've probably seen some of these in some folks' screenshots and videos. So it's got all these different kinds, and it's got three different analogs, or three different analogs. Four. We got this white one. We got an old. We got another. So yeah, there you go. Hey Kaz, hey Neil. Let's dial one of these in, this Northwest antenna. And I'm going to throw this on lower sideband right now. I'm getting a little slop from KWKH. Let's see if I can throw on 1140 on upper sideband now. Go! It's that time, guys! Fire off them sirens, Bill. Top of the hour alert means we are looking for IDs. Oh, there's my red lights. Couldn't get my red lights to play nice. We fire the top of the hour alert, meaning it is top of the hour. And if you're new to DX or stopping by for the first time here, what that means is we are looking for top of the hour IDs. Stations in the US are required by the FCC to put an ID somewhere around the top of the hour. So that's the best time to be listening for station IDs and to find out who it is you're listening to. So that's what we're looking for right now here on 1140. Start us off. Marco says you're hearing a lot of long wave stuff. Yeah, I've got some folks over here chatting about it actually in our Slack channel. Idaho, wait for early Feb and KBOI. That's actually, yeah, that's on my list. Didn't have much hope of hearing KGE in this week. We might take the mini whip for a spin down long wave tonight if the conditions are that good. All right, I'm gonna shut up now. Stop the hour. All week, Mike, all week with KHFX. Feels that way, huh, Bart? Let's take a look now. We've got 1140 covered. That was KHFX there in Dallas. Had a couple other stations in there, probably one of the Cubans in there. So quite a few Latin stations in there, but the Northwest side's been pretty dominated by them. Let's just, for sake of checking, let's check now the Northeast side and see what we have here right now. This northeast antenna has been absolutely dominating this week. Hey Keegan, welcome. So not hearing anything here on the northeast wire on 1140. Let's go down to 1130 real quick and see what we caught at the top of the hour. 80 bets, it's KWKH.
More at the Weather Channel.
KWKH and K277DO Shreveport, 1033 FM and 1130 The Tiger. Bossier City's home for LSU Sports, a Town Square Media station.
I gave them credit. I did. So anyways, Alex Kirshner did a great job with everyone in the columnist. He wrote that, as Chris said, the Detroit Lions should be America's team for the rest of this postseason run. He mentioned three specific things. One of them being that he's got a history of futility, and it's nice to see a team be that bad for that long, come back around and get a win, right? Hard to argue with that. Number two, their fan base, given their history of futility, is still one of the most passionate and rabid fan bases in the entire NFL. So to see them win something and to see what could come of it will be great to see. That's number two. And number three.
There we go. So yeah, ducked him down a little bit, but not enough to really make a difference.
And Jared Goff. Dan Campbell, when he was hired, plenty in the media, including
and that Spanish station in there is probably WLBA, Gainesville. Yeah, Neil, that shocked me. It really did shock me. It took all of my my focus and all of my little bags of tricks to get Vancouver in the log this week. But that was, yeah, that was special. Them and Seattle both were special. Let's check 1120. I know this is going to be too. Northwest guy's going to be KMOX.
Saturday night basketball here at the Fugal Center in Richmond, Virginia, and the Billikens Trail. Virginia Commonwealth University, VCU, 10 points. VCU with a nice late run there to...
Mike, it was probably LBA, La Mejor in Gainesville.
Deficit 36
if I had to guess.
To 26.
It could have been
of course,
Texas,
we take a look at what's
probably
going on around the Atlantic 10 Conference.
I was pointing northeast.
St. Louis University women's basketball program. Of course, they're in action in the D.C. area. They lost to George Mason the other night, so they will be in action tomorrow, or Saturday, at 1 p.m.
So there's KMOX.
George Washington.
That was the top of the hour Northwest wire. Let's see what's on the Northeast. It's probably going to also be KMOX.
What is Starry Lemon Lime Soda?
But there is something in there on the Northeast.
Between us, one of you must be a little more important to Starry than the other. Who is it?
We're both important.
So we can just as easily be Starry Lime Lemon Soda.
That sounds right. I like it. So you saying if I can be happy, that works for me.
Starry Lemon Lime Soda.
That might be a good one to go back to. I haven't sat on this frequency with the new northeast antenna. Again, it's pointing at 15 degrees, so it's right up in here in kind of central Michigan, which was kind of the point. as I wanted to kind of get closer to Wisconsin, Michigan in this area because I've been getting hardly anything out of there. Maybe a little bit of Minnesota if I can. So I was trying to kind of target this area. My other antenna that I put up in the front yard this week is the 12x56 Superloop is targeting here, western Minnesota and the Dakotas at 340 degrees. So I figure between the two, I should have a shot to kind of fill in some of this gap right here, because this is a big gap that I have in my logbook as these states right here, the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. A little bit, I think I got 2 in Minnesota, 4 each Michigan and Wisconsin, and then 1 each in the Dakotas. And that's it. Which, you know, it makes sense because they're a little further away. They're a little further north. But I haven't really had an antenna that really is kind of directed in that direction. I've had a lot of stuff off to the side, you know, up towards Pennsylvania, New York, and that kind of way. And I got some stuff there, but this is going to be an opportunity, hopefully, for me to kind of fill in some gaps there. So 1110. Let's go back really quick. Actually, first we'll check the northeast wire and see what's on here. Probably WBT. At 7 o'clock, that's probably Levine. And then the Spanish station is probably XERED out of Mexico. So yeah, that's Star Spangled Banner is probably Levine at 7 o'clock. That's his thing. Gets the DXers excited because everyone thinks, who's signing off? Here's top of the hour on the Northwest wire.
Gracias, Edgar Estrada. Y antes de irnos, un resumen rápido. Recuerde, el próximo lunes nos escuchamos, pero antes, familias de los mineros atrapados en pastas de conchos informaron que en caso de que en la actual administración no se concrete el rescate de los cuerpos, el presidente López Obrador ha prometido que emitirá un decreto para que se garanticen los recursos para continuar con la búsqueda. Luego de dar un manotazo en movimiento ciudadano.
For our newer DXers, what I just did there, I had some splatter from Camo X on 1120 that was kind of coming in because I was in upper sideband. So I actually moved from upper to lower sideband to move away from that splatter. Little technique, in case you're newer to DX, that you can use if you're using a radio that has an upper lower sideband feature on it. You can use that to help you move away from splatter from a strong local station, or in this case, like Camo X, they're in St. Louis, I'm in Louisiana. It's a strong station that's just up a frequency, right? So a little technique that you can use for that kind of stuff. You notice, I'll show you again here the difference. Here's upper sideband. Hear that hash? Now I'm going to move to the lower sideband.
Y la coalición de organizaciones unidas de autotransporte anunció un paro nacional de actividades para el próximo 5 de febrero ante la inseguridad que dijeron atenta contra la vida e integridad de las personas y los conductores. En un comunicado, la coalición llamó a otros conductores a sumarse al paro que dijeron tendrá su punto principal.
You can set, Neil, your in the settings here. I want to say it's system startup bar slider. Where is it? Is it work set? Work set. There it is. Under the work set, when you hit settings, go to work set, and you've got an option here to enter in your location, your Latin long, and when you do that, it's going to give it to you in kilometers. I wish they had a miles option. I understand they're European developers, so they're going to put kilometers in there. But yeah, that's where that comes from. The bearing and the distance in kilometers comes from that. Once you set that in.
Kilómetro 90 de la carretera México-Querétaro. Prácticamente nos estamos despidiendo. Déjenme comentarles rápido que continúa un bloqueo en la Picacho a Cusco. Los problemas de vialidad ya llegan hasta el periférico. Nos vamos mañana a las.
Okay, that's Mexico XERED. I could wait for the ID to shop up or show up. It probably did maybe earlier before the top of the hour, but after a week of listening, I'll tell you that too. That it was. And finally, let's go ahead and finish up here this top of the hour sequence here with 1100. First with the Northwest wire.
My wireless company, they know the silent majority is fed up, and Your Talk. News, talk, sports. This is WTAM 1100, Cleveland, home of the Cavaliers and Guardians. Our radio station.
And that's on the Northwest wire. So you know once I swap over to the north, that's going to be the same thing because I'm actually pointing closer towards Cleveland. So that's what we, our main stations that we had. Now, we did hear a lot of other stuff on our frequency range for this week from our frequency challenge, 1100 to 1140. We heard a lot of other stuff in there, too. So we're going to talk about that and wrap up this week's edition of the Medium Wave Frequency Challenge. We're going to get ready for next week, our new week in our new frequency range. We'll have that announcement coming up this hour. And we're going to do some shout-outs. We're going to talk about the week that was and the amazing DX. I can't remember a week of DX like what we had this week in a very long time. It's been a very long time since I had a week like this of DX, and a lot of you are in the same boat. Seeing a lot of your logs, a lot of things on social media that folks are hearing, and I'm seeing a lot of folks hearing some really, really good stuff. And so I think a lot of us have some good stuff to share. So we'll drop that link for the shout out form into the chat so you guys can submit your shout outs and get some pats on the back. We'll celebrate together. We got a new shout out this week to introduce. So we'll get that going here in a little bit. So don't go anywhere. More DX Central Live is right around the corner.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. DX Central Live is brought to you in part by...
From the pages of its DX Monitor member bulletin, members of the International Radio Club of America share their domestic and international AMDX loggings. In its Mexican log, a wealth of information can be found of stations from south of the border. Technical guides, sunrise, sunset maps, and more make the IRCA a must-join for any AMDXer. For more information, log on to ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org. While the HF bands can be filled with entertaining and intriguing transmissions, how do you know when and where to look? Let Teague Publishing's Global Radio Guide lead the way. In addition to its exhaustive list of time and frequency for international broadcasters, radio hobby icon Gail Van Horn brings you equipment reviews, an SDR buyer's guide, feature articles, and more. Pick up your copy today. Visit teaguepublishing.com for more information. That's teaguepublishing.com. Since 1933, the National Radio Club has been serving AMDXers while providing some of the most in-depth information in the hobby. From the annual NRC AM log, a must-have reference for domestic station information, to antenna design reference manuals, and of course, the DX News member bulletin, which is filled with station information updates, domestic and international loggings, and a whole lot more. Become a member today. For more information, log on to nationalradioclub.org. That's nationalradioclub.org.
Through crashes of static in quiet hours, we listen. In languages we can scarcely understand, and of places we have only visited in our dreams, we listen. Incessantly, we perfect our array of aerials, receivers, and resources. We refine our skills and our techniques so that we might listen. We are DX Central, and we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It's DX Central Live from the North Shore Studios in Mandeville, Louisiana. Good evening, my friends, and so glad to have you here with us after just a phenomenal week of DX. Just an absolutely phenomenal week of DX here in North Shore Studios. But like I said earlier, I know for a lot of you, it was also pretty great. So let's talk a little bit about this last week and just what happened this week. So I feel like this season has been building up. It started off a little slow for me, but it's been building up and building up, and it's become one of the best DX seasons so far that I've had here in Mandeville, actually. I mean, the first season I was here, obviously everything was new, right? Anything that you hear is new. So, you know, hearing 200 stations, 300 stations in the span of a week or two was what I had, right? That was easy because everything that I heard was new. But it kind of slowed down last year, and last 2 years, actually. It's 2022 and 2023. It was a little slower. As it happens, as you start getting more and more stations in your logbook, finding new ones is harder, right? It's a little more difficult to hear new ones. But this, especially December and January, but even November was pretty dang good. Argentina showed up in November. And some other ones. South Dakota showed up recently. I can't remember if that was November or December, but South Dakota showed up. We had some great conditions. I got Haiti. Haiti showed up for the first time here. So it's been a good couple of months. And then this last week it went stratosphere. So we're going to talk about that right now. Let's talk about what has been absolutely crushing it in my logbook in the last week. We're going to start with, so Friday, we had our live stream here Friday night. Saturday night, was out and told you putting up a new antenna here in the front yard. I had a 15 by 50 Superloop. It was an east-west Superloop. Had that up originally. Took that down and put up a new north-south antenna. It's 340 degrees, so a little bit past north on the west side of north. And down into so that puts me in like the Dakotas, like I said, Minnesota, Dakotas, that kind of area. And on the south side, which you guys know I'm a big Latin American addict when it comes to DX. On the south side, that was kind of right there into Central America, right into like the heart of Central America and that western coast of South America, Ecuador, Peru, all that over there. So that's where I want to be. That's where I want to have my DX coming from, is all of that stuff I just said. So put that up, and it's about 12 by 56. Was using some 12-foot painter poles for my supports on either end, and have those actually tied to some trees. So I couldn't really use the trees for supports for various reasons, but reinforced those with some poles. Got those up. Couldn't go any higher than about 12, 15 feet or so because of power lines above. So I had to be very careful, and that got me into Saturday evening. Was when that was put up. So that got me into that night, starting to try it out, right? To see what was there. So this would have been the 13th, right? Going into UTC 14. That night, I was doing some review of a recording that I'd made that morning, IQ recording, of the 1100 1140 frequency range, just looking for new stuff in my recording. I think I'd been looking northwest, on the northwest wire, and just seeing what was there, and got a couple things and finished up the review of the recordings. And I kept seeing all these people hearing Seattle on 1000 kilohertz, KNWN. They've been on their daytime power and pattern, non-directional pattern, and so everyone was talking about hearing Washington. And I'd been trying all week to hear Washington, but I have XEOY in Mexico, which plays music, which, that's really tough to break through. I would null them out with my vactrol or my phaser, and I would get that replaced with KTOK in Oklahoma. And if I even got rid of both of those, guess what? That's where WMVP in Chicago would kind of fill in the gap. So I didn't see a path. It just didn't seem like it just wasn't in the cards. And plus I had 990 kilohertz. I couldn't really use my lower sideband, so folks were saying lower sideband was better for them. Couldn't really use lower sideband because I have a local on 990 WGENO, and if I nulled them out, then there comes Mexico and KTOK again, right? I was just stuck in a rock and a hard place. I couldn't find a path. So I got done with this recording review, and hold on 1 second. We're gonna do something really quick here. Got done with my recording review of the morning of the 13th, and said, you know what? I'm just gonna go flip over onto the onto 1000 on the Perseus, and I'm gonna try out the new antennas. the new antenna that I just put up, the 340 degree. I'm gonna try it out and see if maybe that can help. Maybe I can do enough of that kind of pull off to the side, because it's something I've seen before. It's how I got South Dakota, right? I've been looking northwest for South Dakota because that's northwest of me, but I was always getting Dallas every time on 570 because there's KLIF on 570 in Dallas, preventing me from hearing South Dakota, WNAX on 570. So I finally heard South Dakota when I went to my northeast wire, and I was getting rid of WNAX just enough to let whatever signal was coming in off the side of that wire to come in from WNAX. I thought maybe I could do something like that here. And maybe that's what happened. I don't know. Maybe that's what happened. I did have a little phasing in there. I was phasing in some of the northwest 305 degree wire, which is pointing pretty close to right at Oregon, Washington area. I had a little bit of that in there, a little bit of the 340 degree wire I was phasing, and I heard the station, and I pulled up a Kiwi SDR out of Whidbey Island, Washington, and I was like, wow, okay, I'm hearing the same thing they are here. That's kind of cool. But I thought nothing of it. I thought it's just a syndicated program, some talk show, or some network ads or something like that. I remember that they're a news station, but maybe they're just running the same ads, the same timing. You know, you have network breaks if you're part of the same network package. Like we had WRGC when I was there, we had ABC. And whether you're using ABC's adult contemporary format like we were, or their classic rock format or whatever, they all have the same ads, right? Pretty much. They're running the same ads at the same time. Thought maybe it was something like that. Syndicated broker deal. And then I heard Northwest traffic. And I heard mentions of Interstate 5 and Mount Vernon and Turnwater. And I heard someone say Seattle. I went, wait. And I went over to Whidbey Island. They were doing the same thing there. And then I heard Northwest News Radio on my on-air signal. So I didn't, normally when I have one of these like this where it's like kind of close, I'll pull in and I'll try to sync up. And you'll see this when I do Vancouver in a bit. I'll sync up the audio from the Kiwi SDR or whatever it was that I was using to kind of compare to with my audio. So it kind of shows the parallel. Here's what I heard. Here's what they heard. I didn't even have to do that here. They were on top of the frequency at one point. They were owning. No sign of Mexico, no sign of Chicago, and KTOK was there, but they were well underneath Washington. So I'm going to play you now. Here's what I heard. This was KNWN, Seattle, Washington. Heard on the 13th, evening of the 13th, Central Time. So we're going to play that now.
For more information on blood cancers and resources to help, visit understandbloodcancer.com.
Around the back of the nose and out of the other northwest traffic, viruses, dust, and other airborne particles. All the stuff that gets trapped in your nose, making you miss. Don't get caught empty-handed this time. Get the Bosch, the drug-free solution that helps you breathe easier, breathe better, and feel healthier. Even better, Navage is HSA FSA eligible. So Navage is a great way to spend those funds before they expire. Don't wait a minute longer. Buy Navage today and you'll breathe easier knowing you're putting your funds to good use. Navage is available online at Navage.com or Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, and right now.
Northwest News Radio track. I heard that and I almost fell over. I really did. There are those moments as a DXer when you're getting something that you just never expected to get. And it happens to every one of us. At some point in your DX career, you get that station. And it could be something innocuous, like Kentucky from Georgia or something. You're like, I never would have thought I would hear that station because I have X barrier in front of me, right? And like I laid out for you, the three stations up to the northeast of me, northeast of me, northwest and southwest, like a freaking dome, a blanket over top of me, keeping me from getting into Seattle. You heard how loud they were at the beginning. They did fade toward the end a little bit, but they were actually even louder before that segment came in. Back when they were doing like PSAs and ads and things like that, it wasn't distinguishable to them, but it was even louder than that. That was when they were on the downswing. So that was the first like holy good Lord moment. Was KNW in Seattle. So then the other thing that I kept seeing everyone do was hear Vancouver, British Columbia. Now, I've got Saskatchewan, I've got Alberta, got Ontario, didn't have Manitoba, didn't have British Columbia. And I really wanted both of those, man. Really wanted both of those provinces. So I said, you know, I heard Seattle, I have nothing to lose. I know what I've got in front of me with KWKH to get through. I've got nothing to lose. Let me try it out. Went up to 1130, and I was hearing a station underneath, and I had that Whidbey Island SDR pulled up, and I was hearing a station underneath that had a female talking, and it seemed like it was matching up to the SDR, and I just didn't have enough to feel comfortable yet. I was like, I just don't have enough here to really feel like I can say with any certainty and, you know, no qualms about it, that this is Vancouver that I'm hearing. So then I put a query out on the Slack channel to anyone who might have been recording a Washington, Kiwi SDR or whatever that evening, and Jacob Hammond in Minnesota came through. Jacob, what's up, buddy? And I said, I got you. And he had a recording of the exact time frame where I thought maybe that's Vancouver. So I was doing some comparison between the two, and that's when I found that I had a match. So what I'm going to show to you, I don't have an ID here, unfortunately, from Vancouver, but I do have enough of a bunch of matches in here that I feel confident in being able to share it with you that I heard Vancouver. So once you hear this, it'll be like, oh yeah, that was Vancouver. So here is the air check that was uploaded to YouTube Saturday night when I got Vancouver, British Columbia, put in the logbook for Mandeville. Here we go.
Ended up speaking with more than 500 people. And he also talks about how he got musician, comedian, and former Saturday Night Live cast member Fred Armisen to write the foreword.
You're kind of perfect because you're not part of their story so much, but you are famous, and forewords are always written by somebody famous. And then
so that what you just heard right there was the actual recording that Jacob had of the Kiwi SDR, right? So that's just kind of setting the tone. That's not what I heard yet. I wish. That's some of the recording kind of setting the tone of what was being done at the time that I heard him. Here we go.
I don't think so in 2023. I think that might have been something for 4 years ago, but it's not for right now. And there's just not a lot of other names out there that would have made any sense. Nothing is going to be Nick. No, nothing.
Did you hear that little da 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 da? It's gonna repeat a couple times, and then you're gonna hear that same thing on the Kiwi SDR.
It's gonna be Nick, but it's not for right now. And there's just not a lot of other names out there that would have made any sense. Nothing is going to be Nick. No, nothing is going to be Nick. There's just not a lot of other names out there that would have made any sense. Nothing is going to be Nick. No, nothing is.
Here's the Kiwi.
Morris is next.
That's no doubt. Here he goes again.
Everywhere.
Here it is. What I heard.
Would have made any sense. Nothing is going to be Nick. No, nothing is going to.
Okay, so it's in there, right? Just off of that, enough. I went, got him, but I wanted more. So here's clip 2. You're going to hear her say, the female presenter that I was hearing, say the word queen in a very specific way. Here you go.
It's weird because I get. It's one of those. It's weird because I get. It's one of those. It's weird because.
So there is the queen tomorrow, she says. Queen tomorrow. Now here's the Kiwi SDR.
Australian woman is becoming a queen tomorrow.
I get. It's one of those. It's weird because I get.
So now I hear the sound. I hear the queen. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And then the DX gods gifted me with this. This was the undisputable, there's no doubt in my mind this is Vancouver, because this was the same female talker. She's doing a talk up for the sports guy. And she, right after she says the queen, they play a little sounder for the sports, and then she tries to introduce him, and she stumbles. And it causes her to have to say her phrase very deliberate and very specifically. And that cuts through like a knife. Here you go.
I get. It's one of those. It's weird because
there was the queen.
I get the trepidation. I get the concern. I get that
Did you hear that? The stumble? Here it is.
Sometimes when you bring in somebody who has never been in the SEC, because I get the trepidation, I get the concern, I get that trepidation, I get the concern, I get that sometimes when you...
Here's the Kiwi.
It's okay after Flames destroyed it earlier today, and after sports, an Australian woman is becoming a queen tomorrow. And from Sportsnet Radio, here is Luke Shields.
It's been unbelievable, right? There's no doubt that having somebody stumble like that on air, thank goodness that she did, because that was the deal center for me. That's where I said, okay, I got him. And that air check goes on. There's another clip in there where you actually hear Luke Shields, a sports guy, and he says things like all 32 teams, and you hear on my side, you hear 2 teams. You hear Buffalo, you hear the word Vancouver, you hear the word Kansas City, like all these things kind of very, very clearly on my recording compared to the Kiwi. So I won't play all that because I want to make sure we have time for some other stuff in here, but just wanted to share that with you guys. That was the start of my week of DX. So that was Washington at all 2,000 and something miles. I forget the exact mileage on that one, but I do remember Vancouver, 2,152 miles from Mandeville for that one. But we weren't done. Then the next night, I said, okay, I got British Columbia, I got Washington, I'm feeling cocky. Let's go get this done. Let's go get Manitoba in the logbook. I have the new north antenna pointing up 340 degrees. Let's make this happen. The best bet for me for Manitoba seemed to be 990 CBW, but I got, again, a local on 990, and any attempt that I had made before to try to get rid of them, I would maybe get rid of most of it, and then there would be some other station, but it was never Manitoba. Never. But I never had an antenna pointing right at them. So I finally got that, and new results happened. So here we go. This is CBW here, Manitoba, Winnipeg. And we'll just mute that little Walmart ad there. The first thing you're going to hear on this clip is the actual SDR from Manitoba, from Winnipeg. I got their SDR in there to do a comparison with. I ended up not needing it because it was crystal clear ID on my side, but I still left it in just for documentation purposes. So here is what was heard on the Manitoba SDR. The hum is their side, not mine. So that's what I was listening for, right? And here's what I heard.
I contacted you because an uncle of mine was murdered.
Go away. Go away, Kiwi. Here's what I heard. I just, after trying and trying and trying and trying, and I finally got them. Never heard them in 2.5 years. There they were, just waiting for me now with this new antenna. But we're not done. I got one more here for you. So then, a couple hours later, I said, you know what? I've got a couple of these Canadian provinces left. Most of them are maritime ones out there, Newfoundland, Nova Scotia. Yeah, right. I'm not going to hear that here. But one of them is Quebec. And I feel like I've got a shot at Quebec. There's a couple different stations I've identified that I'm going to keep trying after, and I'm going to continue to do that. I haven't heard Quebec yet. But this, I found this to be funny. I did hear this. Again, you have to remember, I had been trying and trying and trying and trying to hear Manitoba for a very long time. Hadn't heard them. Finally hear them. A couple hours later, I'm on 730 kilohertz with my AirSpy and my new PA0 RDT mini whip up in the air. And I'm looking for Quebec. And I hear this. Are you kidding me? 2 hours later, after I first put Manitoba in the log, a 46 kilowatt station, there's just CKDM 5,000 watts on 730, just chilling, just hanging out on my omnidirectional PA0 RDT mini whip. Nothing, wasn't using a Superloop, nothing highly directional, a lot of gain. Mini whip up in the air 45 feet. Heard CKDM 5 kilowatts, no problem. That's what I'm talking about when I say this week has been nothing short of just insane. This week has been insane. And there was other stuff in there. I didn't even get to the fact that I heard Algeria this week. First time I've heard audio from Algeria on 891 this week. So added a new country, 2 new Canadian provinces, a new state. And that's, there were still like 20 other stations in the logbook beyond those that I heard this week. So we're going to get to your shout outs here in a little bit because I want to make sure we give you guys an opportunity to share what you've been hearing. So I'll put that link up here from for the Google form here in just a moment into the chat. Actually, let me go ahead and do that now. There you go. So yeah, if you have any similar awesome stories, new states, new countries, new logs, just a new log, one new log. That's it. That's awesome. Let's get you a shout out in there. So fill out the form and get in there. Yeah. Algeria. I mean, I heard just enough audio. I had the carrier right on 891. Heard the carrier. Just enough audio again on the PA0 RDT mini whip. Not on the northeast super loop. Never heard them on my northeast loop. Never heard them on my east or west loop or any of the other antennas that I've had in those directions. It was the PA0 RDT mini whip that got Algeria in the logbook from Louisiana. So we're going to talk about that antenna in the next hour. We're going to talk about the PA0 RDT mini whip because a lot of you guys have been asking me about it. I did a lot of research before I picked one up, and I got to tell you, I'm impressed. I'm very impressed with that antenna. So we're going to talk about that in this next hour. Okay? So don't go anywhere. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to do our first quick round of shout-outs. We're going to go ahead and announce our new frequency of the week. We haven't got to this week and the results from this week, which will not be closed out until top of the hour, but we haven't even talked about that yet. So we're going to get to that. We're going to do some shout-outs and more. So please don't go anywhere. More DX Central Live is heading your way right after this.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. DX Central Live is brought to you in part by...
From the pages of its DX Monitor member bulletin, members of the International Radio Club of America share their domestic and international AMDX loggings. In its Mexican log, a wealth of information can be found of stations from south of the border. Technical guides, sunrise, sunset maps, and more make the IRCA a must-join for any AMDXer. For more information, log on to ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org. While the HF bands can be filled with entertaining and intriguing transmissions, how do you know when and where to look? Let Teague Publishing's Global Radio Guide lead the way. In addition to its exhaustive list of time and frequency for international broadcasters, radio hobby icon Gail Van Horn brings you equipment reviews, an SDR buyer's guide, feature articles, and more. Pick up your copy today. Visit teaguepublishing.com for more information. That's teaguepublishing.com. Since 1933, the National Radio Club has been serving AMDXers while providing some of the most in-depth information in the hobby. From the annual NRC AM log, a must-have reference for domestic station information, to antenna design reference manuals, and of course, the DX News member bulletin, which is filled with station information updates, domestic and international loggings, and a whole lot more. Become a member today. For more information, log on to nationalradioclub.org. That's nationalradioclub.org.
Through crashes of static in quiet hours, we listen. In languages we can scarcely understand, and of places we have only visited in our dreams, we listen. Incessantly, we perfect our array of aerials, receivers, and resources. We refine our skills and our techniques. so that we might listen. We are DX Central, and we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
From the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It's DX Central Live from the North Shore Studios here in Mandeville, Louisiana, and we are talking AMDX right now. And we're talking about what a great week it's been of DX here, but I know a lot of you also did. I just learned Jeff, our friend Jeff from Fishers, Indiana. You know Jeff? Always up there at the top on the frequency challenge. Uruguay on 11:30. What is going on with the DX this week? It's been amazing. Let's get to some shout outs real quick because I want to make sure we have our first round. We're going to do multiple rounds of shout outs tonight because there's so many to get to. So I dropped that link in the chat. So make sure if you have shout out, new state, new country, new Canadian province, new logs, any of that stuff, we're gonna get you some shout outs in here. So let's start with our first one of the week here. I got Justin Wolfing from Minnesota, our friend Justin. You know, he does a live stream sometimes. While WTAM 1100 was open carrier, I'll give you a second. Several of us in the Minneapolis area heard KFAX San Francisco on July 12th around 11 p.m. That was another one I chased a lot this week. Never heard them, but definitely chased after them. New log for Justin, so you know what that means. It's time for Chainsaw. You know what I just realized I'm missing? Haven't realized that yet this season. I'll have to do it for next. I don't know if I can pull it together for tonight. I'll have to do it for next week. Well, air horn guy that we usually do on these shout outs. I just realized I haven't had that all season so far. Ugh. Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to distract. Justin, good job getting KFAX, man. That's one I wanted really bad. Really, really bad. Didn't get a chance to hear them this week, but we'll keep trying. Charles in San Diego, our friend in San Diego. I'm not going to tell you what that translates to. Old wooden ship. New logs, KFAB, KGEM. Several years ago, heard Camo X in the car radio, but never officially logged it. It was a, did I really hear that thing? But this time has it recorded, and it's official for a new state. It's elusive for him from San Diego. Count your blessings that, well, I guess, not count your blessings. We all have things that we love hearing and things that we wish we could hear, and whatever you wish you could hear is someone else, their pest, right? So we'll get you that new state for you, man, Missouri. Good job, my friend. Woohoo! Yeah, I need my little air. I need that. I just realized how much I'm missing with that. Barry Bankston, new state, KNWN, Seattle, Washington. So we do that. Good job, man. Good job. I was amazed seeing everybody hearing Washington this week. I get they were non-directional, but still. The fact that we got them. And then New Canadian Province Forum, Vancouver, CKWX, from Crossville, Tennessee. So you know what time it is. We're going to let the moose loose. I'm not even Canadian, but I get strangely patriotic every time we have the moose loose. And Barry also heard KTTP 1110 from Pineville, Louisiana, which I heard them this week too. One of the few Louisiana stations I haven't heard. Got them this week. But that's a new Louisiana station, so that means we stirring up some gumbo. And some jambalaya. And we're going to drive down the bayou with the P-Road. Then we gonna drive over to the CCC, heading to the West Bank where I used to live in Terrytown. Then we gonna go down on Bourbon Street, where a lot of naughty things happen. I've never done any of that. There's the gumbo. I never did any of the naughty stuff on Bourbon Street, mama. Never have ridden a streetcar yet either. St. Charles, I haven't done that yet. Welcome from Louisiana. Good job, my friend. Laissez les ventons rouler, as we say. So those are our first 3 shout-outs. We've got a whole bunch more to get to, so I'm going to continue on with those here in a little bit. We'll get back to more shout-outs, but that's the first round. I didn't want to go on without doing a quick look back at last week. 900 to 940 kilohertz, our week 2 of the medium wave frequency challenge. How did that go down? What a week 900 to 940. Week 2 was, right? You guys have crushed it so far. I'm putting together, I'm starting to build the season to date stats right now. And so we're already at over 1,500 stations logged. I know we had the graveyard challenge right off the bat with like 900 and something. I get that. But we're well over 1,500 now with this week. We're almost at 2,000 logs already for the year. Y'all are just crushing. So, week 4 beckons. We're going to put the final touches here on 1100, 1140. We've done that now. Week 4 beckons. What frequencies are we going to do now for week 4? What do you think? We going low? We going high? We going mids? We going something specific like clear channels, regionals? What do you think? What have we got up our sleeve for this week? Oh, this is going to be an interesting one, guys. Now, I already know my Minnesota folks. You guys are going, 1,500. Come on, man. What are you doing to me? I know. I get it. But 1510, 1520, 1530, 1540, got some stuff in there. You got a shot at Ecuador on 1510. Maybe some folks can get Washington, D.C. on 1500. That maybe haven't already gotten it yet. Maybe some folks are looking for KSTP. Maybe you're looking for KGA on 1510 like I am. Hey, we got one Washington. Why not another? So let's go ahead and take a look now at our new frequencies of the week as we fire up the Perseus. Yeah, Sao Tome 1530. Great point, Marco. Great point. I want that one bad. Bad. I've been trying for them for what? 3 or 4 years now since I found out about that option on 1530. I've been trying for Sao Tome, including when I was in Charleston on the East Coast with nothing between them and me but salt water. Nothing. Let's go back live. We got top of the hour coming up here in a little bit. We're going to say bye-bye 15 or 1100 and hello 15. We're going high this week. So all you folks that have maybe some smaller antennas, MLA 30s, things like that, this is going to be to your benefit. We're going to give you a reprieve from those low frequencies that might be a little more difficult for you. We're going to give you something a little bit easier to start with. Definitely fewer stations on these frequencies in this range here than what we've been looking at the last several weeks. So that's a nice reprieve as well. But there's some good stuff in here. We're going to take a look at a little bit later on to see what is available. But let me go ahead and start off here right now with Northwest Wire. Yeah, let's start with the Northwest Wire in 1500 and see what we got. And we're going to have to go lower sideband because of the slot from WLAC. So the new Google form, I'm not Google form. I mean, you're behind. You'll get here in a second. The new form will go live here in just a little bit. Actually, let me go over here right now, and I'm going to go ahead and set this up. So if you're trying to get to week 3, you're not going to be able to do that here for the next minute or so. Let me go ahead and I'll just do this. Let me find... I'm going to throw the week 3 direct link into the chat because I'm about to replace week 3 with week 4 on the link on the page. It will not go live until top of the hour here. So if you click on it now, it's going to say this page doesn't seem to exist. It's going to in a few moments. But the link for the current link will no longer take you to week 3 as of now. So we've got that disconnected. We've now connected it up to week 4. And you know what? Let's just go ahead and publish that now. Let's just go ahead and put week 4 out there so you guys... So if the form won't be there, it won't turn on until 8 o'clock. But I'll just go ahead and publish the page now. So at least it does show that you're on a page. How about that? There we go. It is publishing. So week 4 should be up. The form won't be live until top of the hour. So you won't be able to put anything in until top of the hour, but at least the page will be there. With all the blank charts. So who do we have here on 1500? My guess is going to be XEDF in Mexico. I can probably try to get rid of them. Take care, Mike. That's the northwest. Let's look northeast. Northeast. Not really much in there, huh? That's a nice one, Dale. I like that. All right, so there's the station in Mexico in there, but this is one of those. This is another one of those frequency ranges like the last couple weeks where you really are going to want to do a lot of sunset and sunrise DX to get stuff out of here, because once these 1500, 1510, 1530. Once these big guns settle in, it's going to be hard to dislodge anything else out of that. So your gray line is definitely your best friend this week as well. So let's go ahead and take a look now. We got 1500. Let's actually go. This would be a good opportunity for me to go to the Air Spy, and let's try out that that PA0 RDT mini whip, shall we? We're gonna be talking about this antenna in the next hour. And let's throw this lower sideband. There we go. KSTP, yes. That is one of the 2 Minnesota stations that we have here. That's the mini whip.
Resultados positivos. En Aguascalientes, impulsa el trabajo y rompe suma récord en empleo formal. Guanajuato reconoce las estancias infantiles. Querétaro ha invertido como nunca en obra pública. A todo el estado. Coneval ha reducido la pobreza.
Top of the hour time frame, my friends. Okay, my top of the hour alert just froze. That's interesting. Are you guys seeing anything on your side? Am I still on the internet? I'm still on the internet, it looks like. But my top of the hour alert just froze. Is this not working now? I guess my Stream Deck has stopped working. Let's go over here. Oh, there it is. Now it's caught up. Look at that. Okay, now it's caught. Now that I was about to unplug it, my Stream Deck switcher. Whatever. Let's look at the Perseus here and see what we've got. We're going northeast. It wouldn't be DX Central Live without a technical malfunction. I'm assuming that basketball game is probably KSTP. I'm hearing the same thing, Sean. I'm assuming that 1500 basketball game is probably KSTP. Okay. I can't tell if it's basketball or hockey I'm hearing. Some sort of sporting event. Is that hockey I have on mine? Oh yeah, that's hockey. I think I heard him say hat trick in there. I may be hearing something. I might maybe playing tricks.
Concretamente, desde la llegada a Guatemala de Bernardo Arevalo, una nueva etapa en la cooperación migratoria entre México y Estados Unidos, Washington ha venido bloqueando la
I would love it if it was Detroit, actually. I don't have that here.
Al primera presidente de los Estados Unidos, el momento que la diplomacia europea al recibir el doctorado honoris causa por la Universidad de Valladolid, dijo que Benjamín Netanyahu no solamente ha utilizado boicoteado durante los últimos 30 años la cuestión de Estados Unidos, acusó a Estados Unidos de un correcto de haber financiado jamás con los gobiernos organizados la Autoridad Nacional Palestina, en este caso habrían estado alimentando el monto de los zapatos, transmisiones.
Is that what I have in here, Rick? I think it's hockey. I thought I heard him say hat trick, and I thought I heard sideboard. Okay. Hey, Gary Neal. Appreciate you being here, man. Thank you. Yeah, I would assume that's probably who that is KSTP. Let's go show you what else we caught here at the top of the hour on the Northeast Wire. Starting with 1510. And any guesses?
As well as floating financial services to service any New York loans. Funding may not.
News and information around the clock. This is Talk Radio 98.3, WSIF 62, and 1510 WLAC, Nashville.
An iHeart radio station.
Them and WBAP are the strongest radio signals I have on the nighttime band other than WWL and 1280. Those are the two strongest they're the two strongest out of state signals that I have on my band is WLAC, WBAP in Fort Worth on 820. They're difficult to get around, but they can be done, and especially if you have like a CAS or a DCAS or a Superloop or something where you can null on the backside. I guess I'm fortunate because I'm south of Nashville. If you're north of Nashville, it doesn't really probably help you that much. But anyway, if you are south of one of those, Nashville or whatever, you have a terminated loop antenna like that, you can hopefully null them down enough to be able to hear stuff like Monumental down in Ecuador. Even if you aren't, I think we've shown quite often on this channel how you can use something like phasing or the code channel canceller like Barry's mentioning here on the AirSpy, or even just like underneath. You have the main signal there and they clear out everything underneath it, and then you've got Monumental underneath. That's how I heard Monumental for the first time out of Ecuador, was that exact method. using the code channel canceller, and also there was enough of them underneath WLAC to be able to hear them. So, so that's I think the thing about some of these big gun stations is a lot of times we just think, oh, it's always going to be that one station. You never know. You never know when that station might be off the air. WSB in Atlanta. You never know when that station might be off the air in your local area. WWWL on 1350 a couple weeks ago. You never know. So it's always worth a check. At least take a look. And that's one of the things I love about these frequency challenges, is they force us to always be looking at these specific frequencies that we're on. So 1520 KOKC, Oklahoma City is probably going to be in there. But what else did we get on the Northeast wire? Oh, that's probably KRHW. Sykeston. Yeah. Good call there, Barry. Now we're starting to see it, right? So you got 1510. There's KGA up here in Spokane, right? Kind of all there by itself on the eastern side of the state. So a little more reasonable that maybe it might be there. And then you get 1520, and look what you got. And now with, no Tennessee station there for you to deal with, Barry. Look what else you got here in Sonomish. You got another 50K station. Are they 50K at night too? Obviously, I don't know West Coast stuff as much. I guess they are. Classic Country is their format. Oh, that could be who I have right now. I'm assuming that's who that country station was that I had in there that was playing Alan Jackson. I'm assuming that's who that is, because that's who I usually hear on 1520, is Sykeston or Oklahoma. I'm trying to remember who this ethnic station is. I want to say, is it Florida? Or could it be Maryland? I might need some help with this one, guys. I don't know. I don't know if that ethnic station is one that I have right now already. Let's keep listening. Or could that be? No, there's nothing in Mexico. There's a WXYB in Indian Rocks, and I have a feeling like that's probably who it is, if I remember correctly. But the idea that I could have Maryland here. I don't know if they go off the air. I don't know the Maryland station. Yeah, I just heard the KRHW ID, right? Let me rewind that back. Yeah, so there's Sykeston. That's who that was. I got you, Barry. Okay, is it? Okay, I don't know enough about them. Now, 1521 is Saudi Arabia. I'm not saying that's who this is, obviously. But, you know. WXYB. I think I have them already. Okay, yeah, that's probably who that is. In Florida, Indianapolis. Okay, so that's probably who that is. I would imagine. And I do, on that north antenna, I do get a little side lobe that gets me kind of like right in here. It's really interesting. So again, this antenna is pointing. If you look at the antenna pattern, it's pointing at 15 degrees. So that's right here at Three Rivers, Michigan. Right there, right? So I'm going to put that right here, right? I have a side lobe on that Superloop for whatever reason that does really well right up in this little area right here. I don't know why, but I get really good reception at stations in this little area right here in Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. I'm not complaining, but that antenna, for whatever reason, has done really well in that direction, in addition to getting me up into Michigan and Wisconsin. So, let's look at 15:30 on top of the hour. It's not WCKY. It's probably these guys. I'm telling you, this antenna loves that coastal Georgia.
On the Delta for the Spurs, 7.5 to play. San Antonio trails in Charlotte at 108-103. Victor Wembanyama giving a night off, 85 to 80.
CKY takes over here.
Transferring to Ohio State.
Okay, I don't think I would have gotten ID out of that one, but I would assume that that's who that is WYMM in Jacksonville. Because again, I know that antenna works really well in that direction. And B, I've heard them here before with that format. They're usually pretty dominant. It's between them and CKY, usually, depending on the antenna that I'm on. And that brings me to 1540, which I'm hoping I know who this is. Gotcha, Neil. Thank you. Now I won't be guessing anymore. Thanks, man. Those beeps would have been, I'm guessing, Bahamas. Interestingly enough, even though ZNS1 on 1540 is stronger, 810, ZNS3 comes in louder here. I don't know why. I don't know if their antenna pattern is throwing more my way. I don't know if the lower frequency propagates better. I don't know. But 810 is always louder here than 1540. Okay, so there's our first look. So I'm guessing that's who that was ZNS3. So there's our first look here. So, all right, we'll go ahead and pause that now. So let's come back over here and take another break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the PA0 RDT mini whip. I'm going to talk about some information about it, how to get a hold of one, and what I've noticed about it so far. It works really, really, really good. And I'm going to tell you why and what I did to install it. So we'll talk about that. We'll get some more shout outs. And we'll be looking at our frequencies of the week and what to expect, what kind of stuff we can expect on those frequencies. So, as always, don't go anywhere, my friends. More DX Central Live is coming up right after this.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. DX Central Live is brought to you in part by...
From the pages of its DX Monitor member bulletin, members of the International Radio Club of America share their domestic and international AMDX loggings. In its Mexican log, a wealth of information can be found of stations from south of the border. Technical guides, sunrise, sunset maps, and more make the IRCA a must-join for any AMDXer. For more information, log on to ircaonline.org. That's ircaonline.org. While the HF bands can be filled with entertaining and intriguing transmissions, how do you know when and where to look? Let Teague Publishing's Global Radio Guide lead the way. In addition to its exhaustive list of time and frequency for international broadcasters, radio hobby icon Gail Van Horn brings you equipment reviews, an SDR buyer's guide, feature articles, and more. Pick up your copy today. Visit teaguepublishing.com for more information. That's teaguepublishing.com. Since 1933, the National Radio Club has been serving AMDXers while providing some of the most in-depth information in the hobby. From the annual NRC AM log, a must-have reference for domestic station information, to antenna design reference manuals, and of course, the DX News member bulletin, which is filled with station information updates, domestic and international loggings, and a whole lot more. Become a member today. For more information, log on to nationalradioclub.org. That's nationalradioclub.org.
Through crashes of static in quiet hours, we listen. In languages we can scarcely understand, and of places we have only visited in our dreams, we listen. Incessantly, we perfect our array of aerials, receivers, and resources. We refine our skills and our techniques so that we might listen. We are DX Central, and we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
From the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It's DX Central Live from the North Shore Studios here in Mandeville, Louisiana, my friends. So glad to have you here on this Friday evening, as always. Saturday morning, depending on where you might be in the world. We have some friends over in Europe that stop by and join us on Fridays as well. So if you are across the date Terminator right now, we welcome you and good Saturday morning to you. And tell me what the lottery numbers are so I can go ahead and go win those since you're in the future. That's an old joke, right? It's played out. Let's talk about the PA0 RDT mini whip. So I have been playing with this thing now for about a week since I put it up in the air, and I got to tell you, it's been working very, very well. I'm very pleased with its performance. I'm very pleased with how quiet it is. And considering its size, I'm very pleased with just how well it does at getting signals in there. And so we're going to show you a little bit of an example of that here tonight. Now, is it as strong as my Superloops with a 23 dB gain Wellbrook FLG 100LN? No, it's not that. It's not that. Is it as good as a W6 LVP loop? Some ways, yeah. Some ways, I mean, it is another tool that you can put into your arsenal, right? It's one of those things where you put it in to your arsenal of antennas, right, alongside your loops and any other stuff that you have, and it's another option that's there for you to hear the band in a different way than any of your other antennas do. And that's what I like. One of the things I like about it. The other thing I like about it is it pairs really, really well with another antenna in a phasing situation. So I've got mine coming through my quantum phaser, as mentioned earlier, and on the other side of that quantum phaser is my Superloop that is currently my 340-degree north-south 12 by 56-foot Superloop, right? So I've got a north-northwest facing antenna, just a little bit west of north, and I've got this omnidirectional one sitting up 45 feet up in the air. So how did I do that? We're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about... I got to pull that website up for us as well. Here we go. Let me pull that. So how did I get... I'm going to put this link in the chat as well. I've already put 2 links in the chat. This one's how I got it up in the tree. That link I just put in there will be important. So let's start off here by talking about the mini whip itself and kind of what it is, what it looks like, what it's really designed for, how does it work. It's an active antenna. It's a small, itty-bitty. I mean, you see this picture on screen. That pin next to it, that's legit. That's how big that little piece of PVC with the cap on the top, that's how big that antenna is. Okay? It's just that. You got this little power inserter box in your shack. Mine's sitting right over here on my window panel. And this. You got a BNC connector on the bottom. You got BNC connectors on both the radio and antenna side of your power unit. Right? And so I put this link in the chat. This is the dl1dbc.net website. And it talks a bit about how this antenna works, what makes it unique. So what they've basically done is they've shortened this antenna in such a way that basically it's improving your signal to noise ratio. So the old adage is if you have a lot of gain, not only are you amplifying your signals, you're amplifying your noise, right? Amplifiers amplify noise just as much as they do signals. So with this active antenna, it's allowing you to have, yes, lower signal strength, and I'll show you that here in a second on my SDR. But because of that, the noise is also lower, and you actually improve your signal to noise ratio, and that allows you to pick up stuff that's a little more, maybe down in the weeds a bit, where another antenna would have so much noise being amplified in there that it's a little more difficult to hear. This is the antenna I heard CKDM on. This is the antenna that I heard Algeria on. None of my other antennas, now mind you, most of those were pointing either northwest or north-northwest or north-northeast. So none of them were pointing directly at Algeria. But this PA0 RDT mini whip heard enough of it to be able to pull it in. Okay, so let me show you. You can read all about it here on this website that I put into the chat. Let me show you now. This is the real world here. Okay, this is my PA0 RDT mini whip that we're on right now. This is the signals coming in. So I'll show you the difference. This is the mini whip. We switch my switch on my phaser. This, you see it come up? This is the Superloop. Okay, this is the 12 by 56 foot Superloop with the I'll do it again, with the Wellbrook FLG 100LN amplifier, 23 dB of gain, right? So yes, the signals are stronger, absolutely. So is the noise. Now the terminated loops are pretty quiet in general, but this is so quiet. I have a 4-foot ground rod sunk in the ground, right towards the base of the tree that this thing is in. It's sitting again about 45 feet. How did I get it up in the air at 45 feet? I used one of these. This is called the Air Boss. It was originally made by Ham. I want to make sure I get his call sign correct. It was, I always get this wrong, KR4LO. I always do K4RLO. It's KR4LO. Was his grandfather. the person who's now doing this now. And he had devised this PVC device that you see him holding here with a nice valve in there. And you put a fishing reel on here and some fishing line. And then at the bottom down here in this little part right here where you can kind of see, this is a little nubbit right here that you connect a foot pump, air pump to. And you've got your gauge here. And so you can go up to, I think, forget how many PSI you can go up to. It's in the instructions. I usually get it to about 20 or 30 PSI. Aim it up in the air. I've got a fishing weight tied to my fishing line. That's dropped down this tube right here. Right? And that sits on top of this little valve. I'll aim it at the branch I want. I open up the valve, and all that compressed air shoots that fishing weight in the line up towards that branch. It comes back down because of gravity. Thank goodness for that, Newton. Figured that out, right? And so the gravity pulls that fishing weight back down on the other side, hopefully of the branch. Sometimes you might overshoot it a little bit, and you have to kind of reshoot or whatever, but it comes on the other side of the branch, comes down there. You tie a little bit of rope to that fishing weight, and now you reel back in your fishing line, pulls the fishing line and the rope back over the branch, which is easier said than done. Sometimes it can take a couple of attempts. Brings it back down. You disconnect the fishing weight from your rope, and now you've got rope on both sides. And now what do? On one of those sides, you connect your antenna, pull, goes up in the air to the top of the tree, wherever your branch is, right? That's how I got this sucker 45 feet up in the air. I have a tape measure, a 300-foot tape measure. I connected it to my rope, pulled it up as high as it would go, measured it up, it said 45 feet. That's what I needed to know that so I could know how much feed line I needed to go from the mini whip down to the base of the tree. And I got a couple of extra feet because at the base of the tree, that feed line comes over a little bit, and it's going to my ground rod. At the ground rod, I've got a DX Engineering ground rod clamp that's got holes in there for 6 lightning arresters. I've got one on there right now. It's an Alpha Delta lightning arrestor. It's got F connectors on both sides, so I'm feeding my feed line from my mini whip down to my ground rod is RG11, 45 feet. Then from that other side of that lightning arrestor is RG11 again, all about 110 feet or so, all the way back around to long side up to the window here in my shack to my window panel. Okay, that's how I've got the sucker fed. I have a little plastic Rubbermaid bowl sitting on top of my ground rod to protect it from the elements and things like that. But this air boss is how I got it in the air. Okay, so that's now 45 feet up. The higher it goes, the better the gain is going to be. Now, if you're in an area that's saturated with a ton of signals, you may want to be careful. You may not need to get it that high. You may overload your mini whip if you get it too high. So far, I've been fortunate that I haven't had that as a problem. I'm knocking on wood as I say that. I have had a couple of issues with the mini whip the last couple of days where it's been kind of cutting in and out a little bit. I'm going out and doing some double checks on my connections to make sure everything's okay. I think I might have a loose connection. That's my fault, not the antenna's fault. So this is what it looks like right now. Let me show you a example of a file that I recorded, a sunrise file that I recorded just the other night, actually last night, I'll get this out. Last night I recorded this file, and I think it was, this one. So this is the file that I recorded last night around sunset, around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Notice my signal levels still aren't that high, but I have pulled a lot of DX out of this recording. A ton of DX out of this recording. Right around in here was the 1600. I've pulled probably 3 or 4 stations in the logbook in this recording off the mini whip. Again, the signal levels don't look that impressive on the waterfall, but they're there. I promise you. When you listen to it, this is where I heard. I think it was here where I pulled in Wisconsin. This is the antenna that got me CKDM, Manitoba. Again, it got me Algeria. So this mini whip has worked really, really well for me. Again, you look at it and you think there's not a lot there. Like there's just not a lot of signals there, but they're there. I promise you. It's just super, super quiet. So quiet. Especially once I put that ground rod on. Once I put the ground rod on there, the quiet went through the roof. And it got super, super quiet. Before I did, it was a little bit noisy. It wasn't bad, but it was a little bit more noisy. But that ground rod silenced all that right up. Okay. You may be wondering, how do you find one of these? How do you purchase one of these? There's a lot of imitators out there. My suggestion to you is go right to the source. Go to PA0RDT himself. I put this link in the chat. It's his QRZ page. You can go to QRZ.com, look up PA0RDT. He's got his email address on here. You can reach out to him. He'll let you know. It's 59 euros if you get the classic version, which is what I've got. He's also got a smaller mini version as well. You need a 9-volt power supply to power this thing, and that's it. That's it. That's all you need. You can get it up in the air as high as you possibly can without overloading, and you'll be good to go. And this thing works really, really, really well. Is it a foolproof antenna that replaces everything else you have? Absolutely not. Nope, not at all. Is it going to get you good DX? Yeah, because it's going to hear things that your other antennas probably don't, because it's got a unique view of the atmosphere that your other antennas probably don't have. That's just how it works. I have tried it on long. It's purported to be a super great long wave antenna. I have tried it on long wave, and just a very basic running through of the NDB, the non-directional beacons part of the long wave band, on a very, very stormy night with a lot of lightning crashes. I heard Puerto Rico, Jacksonville, Florida, and Charleston with ease. Just tuning around, not even really doing it really hardcore, not listening for weak stuff. I'm talking strong signals out of Puerto Rico, Charleston, South Carolina, and Jacksonville, Florida, for the NDB portion of the long wave, no problem. With lightning crashes like crazy going on down around Florida in the direction I was trying to hear. Crazy amounts of lightning, lots of static, lots of interference. Still heard those. So I am a big believer in this antenna, having it in your toolbox. Again, I'm going to say that's for what it is. It is a antenna that you should have in your arsenal, in your toolkit of antennas that you have to pull in signals from the atmosphere. It should be in the mix. I think it should be in the mix. I think it's going to help you take another look at the atmosphere that some of your antennas may not be able to do. It's omnidirectional, super, super quiet. And I know a lot of guys that have Kiwi SDRs have these things up in the air, and they work really good. I'm about to get one for Mom for her Kenwood R5000, so she can put that up and do some HF and otherwise other DXing with this thing. And she's got some mega huge tall trees, even taller than 45 feet. I can get this thing 50, 60 feet. Probably. So I am a big believer of the PA0 RDT mini whip. So I put those links in the chat, and QRZ.com is where you'll find his email address to be able to reach out to him directly to inquire about that. I actually just reached out to him earlier yesterday, I think, and I'm getting ready to order another one of these as a backup for here, and also one for Mom for her setup. So big believer in the PA0 RDT mini whip as being one of the tools in our arsenal for DX, for long wave, for medium wave, for HF. It's only 59 euros. It comes out to like 60 something, $64, $65, something like that. And that's out the door shipped to you, because it's 39 euros for the antenna, 20 for the shipping, total 59 euros. So about 60 some dollars in your hand. And then all you have to do is figure out how to get up in the air, get that ground rod in the ground, and you're set. So that's my spiel on the PA0 RDT mini whip. You guys know I test a lot of antennas here at DX Central. I've tried the MLA30, wasn't impressed. Tried the K180, wasn't impressed. So if I don't believe in it, if it doesn't do well for me, if it doesn't perform well, I'm not even going to tell you about it. All right? I'll tell you I'm going to try it out. And if you never hear me talk about it, probably wasn't that good, right? I've tried the RTL SDR dongle for AMDX. Doesn't cut it, right? So some of these things that I try out, so you guys don't have to, right? And Look, they can be good for, I know Bill got his start on the MLA30. A lot of guys use MLA30s, and you get some good DX with it, especially if you're not in an area with a lot of RFI. Awesome. I love it for you. But for my style of DX, which I consider to be tending towards the hardcore, right? I'm trying to squeeze out signals. It didn't do anything for me. MLA30, K180, either one of them. But the PA0 RDT mini whip, oh yeah. This thing impressed me the first night that I plugged it in. Before I even had the ground rod in, this thing was impressing me that night. And it's only gotten more impressive as I've played with it more and gotten more use out of it and have the ground rod and things like that. So don't let the waterfall scare you, right? Don't let this scare you off and think to yourself, there's just nothing there. There's no signals there. I promise you, there are. There are some great signals there. And you can get some great DX with this thing. Okay, that's enough for about the PA0 RDT mini whip. All right, let's get to more shout outs, shall we? We've gotten a couple in so far. We've done our first 3 of the night. We got some more to get into here. And I can pick up where I left off here. Got row 5. Nice, row 5. We'll get to John, our friend John in Delaware. By the way, if you have not yet done so, make sure you submit using the Google form, and I'll drop that link here in the chat as well. Make sure you submit your shout-outs, new stations that you might have heard in the last week for new logs, new states, new countries, new Canadian provinces, all of that kind of stuff. Make sure you get that into the shout-out form. Just drop that in the chat. Yeah, Dave, I know a lot of folks that do. Like I said, Bill did an amazing job with his MLA30, hearing some great stuff up in Michigan. Absolutely great. So if you're a little more removed from RFI, and you've got a pretty quiet location, and you don't have a lot of big gun stations in your backyard, MLA30 might not be so bad, right? If I was out in the middle of the country, maybe I could get by with an MLA30, but less for AMDX. I think for a shortwave, it's pretty solid. For shortwave, it's a really solid antenna. But not for AM. I wasn't impressed with it for AM, and I have a lot of bigger stations in the area, so it doesn't do anything for me, right? So that was my experience. I was really hopeful the K180 would pick up and be what I thought the MLA30 could be, and it let me down. It didn't do anything. It didn't do anything for me. The K180 was just kind of a letdown. I'll tell you an antenna that's super, super cheap, a magnetic loop that works really, really well. If you have an AirSpy HF Plus Discovery especially, that's the AirSpy U-Loop. That thing is, I've taken that all over the place and used it, and it works really, really well. I've tested it in my backyard when I was in Charleston, tested it here. I did the same approach. I put it up in a tree with some rope, hoisted it up in the air, went over my AirSpy HF Plus Discovery I had sitting on a table on my back patio in Charleston, immediately tuned it around. Within 5 minutes, I had a brand new station never heard before in Pensacola, Florida. I mean, it works really, really well. So anyway, that's enough of that. Dum-dum-dum. All right, shout outs. That's what I'm looking at the chat and see what you guys are talking about. Okay. The Daily Bench wants to know, he's got his RSPDX. What programs go well with that? SDR Console is my favorite non-Jaguar. So if you're using a non-Perseus SDR, if you're using a Perseus, you should just get Jaguar. Just do it. Just bite the bullet on the $50 or whatever it is for the license and just get the thing, because it's amazing. If you're not using a Perseus, you're using anything else, SDR Console is a fantastic bit of SDR software. You can use, and I do like SDR Connect, the SDR Play version. SDR Uno, I never was a big fan of. I just never was a big fan of that program. SDR Connect is a step in the right direction. It's still not where I consider to be ready for prime time, especially for FMDX, because it doesn't have things like RDS yet, or the ability to virtual cable out for RDS like RDS Spy. It doesn't have, on the remote version that I'm using with my Raspberry Pi, it doesn't have the ability for me to do diversity with my RSP Duo yet. I can if I was plugged in directly into the machine that I'm on, but I'm not So there's some things on the Connect that are still coming that aren't there yet, but it's a pretty decent program. It's definitely a step in the right direction. It's a step above where SDR Uno was. HD SDR is another one that a lot of folks find is pretty good, and I like HD SDR. It's got a pretty decent recording interface. But to me, if I'm going to be doing something that's not in Jaguar, SDR Console is just the gold standard. It's easiest to me. And a lot of folks, it's the easiest to use for recording your IQ recordings, for scheduling those overnight and things like that. It's the easiest to use to go play those back and review them. I've found out that very well. If I didn't believe it already, this summer doing my IQ recordings of my eSkip openings from FM season, man, that SDR Console is a lifesaver for stuff like that. So when it comes to like recording your stuff and then going back later and doing it, can't beat SDR Console. Just can't. It's such a good program. Other than, like I said, Perseus Jaguar users, that's the gold standard as far as I'm concerned. But outside of the Perseus world, SDR Console is fantastic. So I do love SDR Sharp for my AirSpy because of the co-channel canceller. Some of the noise reduction is really, really solid in SDR Sharp. I'm a big fan of that for live DX. I'm not a big fan of it for recording my DX and going back later and reviewing it. If I'm going to review it, I'm probably going to be doing it in console. I might record it in SDR Sharp and then go back later and review it in console, more than likely. Because I'm not a big fan of the recording playback interface in Sharp. But console is really, really solid. Anyway, let's do these shout outs, right? Shout outs. We're about 15 minutes away from top of the hour. John in Delaware got 5 new logs this week, including, so let's queue up L Chainsaw. 860 WSON Henderson, Kentucky. WRRL in West Virginia on 1130 for the challenge. Nice. Got 1060 WQMV in Waverly, Tennessee. WWD in Danville, Virginia. WLCM in Charlotte. Current station count now sitting at 1248 from Delaware. Good job, my friend. We saw a log in your general direction. Good job, Jan. Now let's go up a little bit north of Jan in Old Town, Maine. David, our friend David Pete up there. Alberta number 2, 1140 CHRB, his second Alberta station. 3 new states, though. Getting the fireworks queued up here. Get my lighter out. 850 KOA in Colorado. And 2, he never thought he'd ever have a shot at from Maine. But California with 1100 KFAX and Washington KNWN on 1000. Nicely done, my friend. Let's go ahead and get you the log for Alberta. Let's shoot some fireworks for Colorado, Washington, and California from Maine, y'all. I don't want to gloss over the fact that that is an absolute remarkable accomplishment. From the state of Maine to hear Washington and California. Not easy. Also did get a new country this week, 1179, Radio Romania. So we're going to stamp your passport, my friend. Let's find us a nice little blank page in here. That's got a lot of stuff on there. That's got a lot of stuff. Let's go find... that's a good page. Let's go ahead and use that one. Grab a stamp. And there we go. You are good to go, my friend. All right. Congratulations, David. New states, new country. It's a hell of a week, man. Hell of a week. Tom, nothing exciting compared to last week's log of Seattle. He also got in on the Seattle bandwagon, but did get a new one this week, 1120 WKAJ in St. Johnsville, New York. Weak but good under KMOX. I was looking for them all week. I heard them in Charleston when I was there, but I never have heard them here in Mandeville. I was looking for them, but I know that's a fun station to catch under KMOX. Good job, my friend. Yes, sir. Friend Sean, Champaign, Illinois. 10 new stations for this week's challenge, including 3 extra stations under pesky KMOX. So he's now got 5 stations on 1120. Didn't think he'd ever have that, but he did. KTXW Manor, Texas, WTLT in Maryville, Tennessee, and WSME in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. And You know he got in on this bandwagon, too. He got himself some KNWN 1000 in Seattle for state number 41 for 1,760 miles. Also, heard XECPR AM 660 for a New Mexican state of Quintana Roo, 1,383 miles under WFA in New York. Was that from last night when I was talking about that in the Slack channel? Because they were loud here last night. They're right across the Gulf of Mexico for me, so I mean, they're a daily visitor, but they were extra loud last night. And guess I'm finally starting to get the hang of the code channel canceller and SDR sharp. Good on you, man. So let's go ahead and get the logs. New logs for Sean. New states for Sean, so we got some fireworks to shoot off for you, man. And since you got the New Mexican state, my wife actually got to see this video for the first time today. She likes this one, so we're going to go and do a little fiesta. Yes, sir. Oh, good job, Sean. Proud of you, man. Keep it up. Carl, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more to get to, so we'll do one more now, and then we'll do the other 4 here for the top of the hour, probably. How about that? Split these up a little bit. And then I gotta get a couple more in that I had in here. So, who had the Wisconsin? Was that you, Carl? I thought you had a new one out of Wisconsin this week, didn't you? A new Wisconsin logging? I thought that was you. Let me know in the chat. Because if it was, I got something special planned. If not, I'm going to hold on to it for the top of the hour. I thought you were the one that had the new Wisconsin, right? We'll come back to that. But I'm going to go ahead and read off the ones for Carl. Carl had 13 new ones this week, 5 on the challenge frequencies, including a new one out of Louisiana, KWKH 1130, and a new graveyard log to be GMN 1240, 165 miles. So, because you got Louisiana, we're going to start off 13 logs. Good on you, my friend. Got the logs, and we got the new log from the state of Louisiana, so buy some of that gumbo. Yes, sir. Cross the river, go to the West Bank, hit Bourbon Street. Put your shirt on. That gumbo. Little streetcar ride. We're cooking you up on this one. Good job, Carl. Let me know on that Wisconsin. I thought that was you for some reason, but let me know. Yes, sir. You know what? We still got some time. I can go ahead and do some more of these. These in. I got FN. I think it's FN32DXer in the chat. CHU in Canada, mailing a QSL. And Nintendo got some snow on it again. That's a good time for some DX, my friend. So it looks like you got the QSL. We're going to count that. Good job, my friend. Yes, sir. Neil, Ontario. I can say that with authority now. I used to kind of... No. I didn't really know how to pronounce your name. I felt ashamed to ask. Thanks to tips seen online, finally heard KNW in Seattle on 1000, my only second ever from Washington State, and also KFAX in San Francisco on 1100. So, for Neil in Ontario, we say, log time, my friend. We're going to cut that log up nice and good. You need those logs on a cold night like we've been having, right? The firewood. Got Bart in Gray, Tennessee. My friend Bart, the author, captured 30 stations for this week's DX challenge, and 10 of the 30 were new captures for me. This brings my total logs from the humble shack in East Tennessee to 920. And also treating myself to some gumbo as one of my new captures was 1130 KWKH the Tiger. Go Tigers! From Shreveport, Louisiana. So we got you the log. Yes, sir. And we cooking up that jambalaya for you and some gumbo for you, my friend. Had a po' boy yesterday. Otherwise, if I'd known you had that, I'd saved you a bite. Oh my, look at that girl over there. Oh, no, sorry. Bourbon Street memories just coming back to the forefront there. Well done, Bart, my friend. Go Tigers. I miss that guy. I miss Coach O. I like Brian Kelly too, but I miss Coach O. Our friend Mesa Mike in Fluvanna County, Virginia. Only new one for him this week. 1110 WSLV in Ardmore, Tennessee. Heard underneath the monster that was WBT with the code channel canceller engaged in SDR sharp. So, Mike, we got you, man. We got you a new one. New log, my friend. Good job. Yes, sir. All right, so those are all the shout outs we have right now. We cleared the pot of all the shout outs. So if you we still got a whole nother round I can do next hour. So if you got some shout outs to get in, I know some more you all heard Washington or Vancouver, something up in there. So send those logs over through the Google form that we linked earlier. And Bill, it's a family show. Oh, we are all family. That is true. That is true. Get your shout outs in if you heard new states, new countries, new Mexican states, Canadian provinces. No one yet has claimed the Wisconsin yet. Yes, he did. Okay, Carl did. Carl heard WISN Milwaukee for a new one. I also heard a new station from Milwaukee this week, WSSP on 1250. So our friend Rick in Nebraska said we should do something special for our Wisconsin logs to go along with Louisiana and whatnot and stuff. So I said, sure, let's do it. It's just I was just waiting since yesterday when Rick said this. I said I gotta do it. So within like 5 minutes I was Googling Wisconsin memes and Packers fans and whatnot and stuff, and I said I gotta do this. So congratulations, Carl, on the new Wisconsin station. You didn't see that Al Pacino was in front of a whole table full of cheese, right? So like Scarface with the Coke, but it was cheese. Oh, goodness gracious. Now I'm done and caught the giggles. Let's do this. Our DX. Brought to you by the International Radio Club of America. And we'll also do this one too. National Radio Club, I think I messed this up earlier. NationalRadioClub.org is the National Radio Club website, and the IRCA, IRCAonline.org. So there you go. Those are our sponsors for this hour of Live DX, the National Radio Club and the IRCA. Please support the clubs. And if you're an FMDXer, the BTFDA, make sure you go to the BTFDA.org and join from them as well. It's a life membership. It's cheap. Same thing with the IRCA. It's cheap, life membership, and the benefits you get out of it are overwhelming. So please make sure you support the clubs that support us. Allow us to do what we do here every week on DX Central Live. All right, so we're back on our new frequencies of the week, 1500, 1540. So Colombian Romano. Let's we looked on the north wire last time. Let's look on this northwest wire here. Actually, we started on the northwest wire. Let's start on the northeast this time. So 1500 northeast and go. Olympian. Heard the Skull North IDs in there. Guess what, guys? Come on, man, fire that side. Top of the hour time frame, my friend. We're doing this. We're on 1500 right now. We just heard Skull North, so that's KSTP. And let's go ahead and look and see.
I also
1510?
am very...
Still the LAC. 1520. Let's look here. Oof.
You think about my...
Wow, we got interference on the upper and the lower side. Both sides. How do you get away from that, right? I can narrow my bandwidth a little bit. Yeah, Tim, if you want to, go ahead, man. Plug that up in the chat. We'll talk about it here on the channel too, on the stream. Yeah, feel free. This is y'all's forum as much as it is mine. I will come back to oof, here on the Jaguar. Let's go ahead. I'm gonna pull our air spy up here. Have you guys noticed? I don't know if this is just me, because this is we're. Have you noticed on the most recent version of SDR Sharp? After a little while of using it, you have to close it out and then reopen it because things get a little dirty sounding. I don't know what that may just be me. But I have noticed that a little bit the last couple days. as I'm using this new software here. Let me go ahead and move it over. There's KRHW again. Yeah, I don't know what that is, Sean. Like it seems intermittent. Or like after a while, like if I kind of leave it up and run for a while, it'll do that. I don't know. And I close it and I reopen it, and usually it does the trick. I haven't had to do the uninstall routine yet, but that may be coming because it does seem to be happening more often.
To the divisional round action. Plus,
so there's the CKY.
To the coaching carousel. It's unsportsmanlike 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2.
Let me go back to 1520 here. And the only thing, I'll say this. If you hover your mouse pointer, like I have here on my screen, just off to the left of your signal, I guess that's 1510, isn't it? Because what I was wanting to do, what I was trying to do when I downloaded this little VU meter here, the plugin, is I was having a really hard time doing phasing, because with phasing you have to level set your signal on both antennas, right? You have to get the signal coming from antenna A from a station you're trying to get rid of to be equal with the signal of that same station in antenna B, and then you can phase it out. If it's uneven, one of those antennas is going to have more signal than the other. You're not going to be able to phase it out because you're getting more signal in there, right? So I was finding in SDR Sharp, it was getting hard for me to do phasing because I didn't have an accurate signal meter. I could use this. I could hover over my signal, and I could get like the peak and the floor and the signal to noise ratio, but that wasn't real time enough, right? That wasn't really a good indicator for me to be able to use to do my phasing. So I got this VU meter hoping that would solve it. It didn't really, unfortunately. So what I've kind of had to do as a replacement for that is I've had to go in here and open up SDR Console to do my phasing. So maybe I'm doing most of my DX now in console with my AirSpy. The only time I'm swapping back over to Sharp is when I want to use the co-channel canceller. I've done that a couple of times. I hate to say it because I do like SDR Sharp, but the lack of ability to do true phasing without, because you can do it by ear, but it's way harder, especially if that signal is really strong in both antennas. It could be a subtle difference of about 5 to 10 dB, and you can't really hear it all that much in your ears, maybe a little tiny bit. But boy, it makes a big difference when you see the numbers and you can equalize those numbers. It makes a big, big difference in your ability to phase it. So that's been my only complaint. It's my complaint with Jaguar too. There's not a good signal meter in there for me to do phasing with. So I have to do it completely by ear. But I digress. So if I go back over here to 1510, you'll see I've got this nice big digital readout. Even though I've got this visual signal meter, which I still use because it's real time and I can see it dropping and then raising back up. And that's when I know when I see it raising back up, I have to go back the other way I just was going on my adjustments I was making on my phasing. But I've got that numerical value right here, this -55 as an example right now. That's the key I need to be able to do the phasing. So this is antenna A, here's antenna B. You see those signals drop. Now I know what that looks like. This is the PA0 RDT mini whip. I know what that looks like. When you see those signals drop like that, you're like, damn, this is not picking up anything. It is though. It is. It's just not picking up all the noise and stuff. Agreed, Mike. Totally agree. And I let Yusef know that too. I told him, I said, that's the use case. Like normally I'm not real big. I don't have a need for a signal meter if I'm just doing casual DX, but anyone doing phasing is going to want that because that signal meter is going to be the key you need to do accurate, quick live phasing. So, but then again, in SDR Sharp, I understand why he wouldn't want to do it, put the development work, put an S meter in, because he's got the code channel canceller. Why do you need a phaser? I was wanting to do that so I could get Washington, so I could use the phaser to get rid of one station and the code channel canceller to get rid of the other and see what was left. That's what I was wanting to do. Didn't need to come to that, but that's what I was trying to do. So there's my country station, which is undoubtedly KRHW. Now we're back on the Superloop. There we go. Cut that back a little bit. Another tip for those who are a little bit newer to DX or haven't heard this tip before, if you have an RF gain that you can back down, you'll see me sometimes, especially on graveyard frequencies, use attenuation to back the RF gain down a little bit. If you're on a crowded frequency, graveyarders or whatever, you back that RF gain down a little bit, it allows dominant stations to rise to the top. If you leave that RF gain tube hot, it's just a cluster. It's just a cluster of everything. I'm going to do that here. I don't have an RF gain I can really use. I could probably use a little attenuation here to back this off and do like 12 dB attenuation or something. But I can also just turn it down. Just your audio volume, just turn it down and bring it up until it's like I can hear a dominant station. Right. Is that clear that got? Yes, Marco. Yes. I just figured out, I don't know if you guys have seen this. I'm going to go back to it real quick. I'm going to go back to SDR Sharp. I just figured out this week how to, on your recording review, how to display the actual time. I was always just opening up AirSpy, opening up my recording, and it would say like, if it was a 6-minute long recording, you're looking from 0 to 6 minutes on your little doodad, right? I finally figured out this week how to change it so it doesn't do that. It actually shows you the real time. So you'll see here where I have, it says 1556 to 1601. Here in this little recording interface here, you change your time by clicking on the line here in this little mini waterfall. And that's advancing and rewinding and everything else. Be careful, if you click and drag, it's going to zoom in. And the only way I've been able to find to get rid of that zoom, if you've figured out a different way, let me know, is to reopen the file. Once you zoom in, I've not been able to get it to unzoom. So if you know of a different way of doing that, let me know. But if you click on these little settings right here, you're going to have show real time as your option right there. So that show real time is how you get it to actually show the real time. I was having to count. So if it's like a 6-minute file and it started at 5 till, then I knew 5 minutes in, that's top of the hour. That's how I had to kind of equate that. I would love a clock right here in this little space right here. That'd be great. So a couple things. It's a great program. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. It's a good, solid program for what it is. It's not really made for specifically, like a Jaguar is, for AM DXers. So I have to just, accept that other people are using that for other applications other than DXing like we do. Does it do it that way, Marco? Okay. All right, Sean and Marco got me. You go back to the part of the box on the left side and right click. Thank you. Right click to get out the zoom. Okay, thanks. I didn't realize that. Yes, you can also do that. Yeah, some of them don't have gain. Some of them, instead of having like an RF gain slider, you can actually adjust your gain that way. You can just throw attenuation in. Like the Perseus, it's 10, 20, or 30 dB of attenuation. Here on the AirSpy, you've got your attenuation here. I forget what it is on the Elad FDMS3, but you can attenuate, like, I think it's 6, 12, and 18 dB. I want to be able to go down to like 43 dB, like, or more. Like, I want to seriously be able to attenuate that signal down low, low, low. Because if I can do that, that can help me. So I just turn off my gain control, throw that attenuation in, and that should back off my signals. Not for some reason. Should be doing that, I guess. Usually it does. Usually. There is this little option right here for your slider, your AGC slider controls. Huh. Don't know why it's not backing it down. It usually does. AGC must be off. It is. AGC is off. I'm not getting any attenuation on. I don't know, guys. Anywho, I have found over the years that if you are doing phasing and you're trying to phase two signals, it's best to turn your AGC off. Turn your AGC off if you're trying to phase. You'll have much better luck. Especially if the two antennas you're working with are not equal gain. The more one has more gain than the other, turn that off. Turn your AGC off and try to phase that way. It'll work much, much better. All right. Let me do one more check here of the old Bill. We got a new shout out in here. 22 new logs this week for Bill Curry up in Michigan, including a new state, 1000 KNWN in Seattle. 22 new logs for Bill this week. You were busy like me, man. You were busy. So let's get Bill in here with the new logs. And the new state, Washington. Woohoo! There you go, Bill. Good job, my friend. See, a lot of folks got on the Washington bandwagon this week. So if you haven't got them, definitely give it a shot. Throw your antenna northwest or wherever Washington is from you. North or whatever it might be, and or east if you're in Alaska or something. I don't know, wherever you might be. Throw your antenna towards Washington State, tune into 1000 kilohertz, and see what you get. You never know, you might just luck out if you haven't already got them. So, I think that's all we got for this week. We talked. Oh, I do have one other thing I want to show you guys. So, if you go to our website dxcentralonline.com, some of you know that we have links there. For our logbooks. If you go, let me show you here. Let me just Central Online. All right, I'll show you my screen here. All right. So some of you know that we have our logbook available here. If you go up to our top menu at dxcentralonline.com, go to the Shack. We have links here for our logbooks, including our AM logbook here, our FM logbook here. I've added a new thing to the logbook. This was inspired by my mom, Gail, W4GVH. She's been doing for years something over at Shortwave Central called Blog Log, where she puts up what she's been hearing on shortwave, either on her own gear or on online SDRs, things like that. So we were talking about that last night, and I got to thinking about it, and I've been wanting to do something. I have my logbook, which I'll put up here on screen now. Let me just go ahead and get to that. We've got the logbook up here that has all the analysis tables, and you can see, like, here's the log of everything I've been hearing lately and that kind of stuff. Like, you got all the views of everything. But I wanted to have a way to kind of tell the story behind the receptions, as you see here on the screen. What was it that went into it? What work went into it? What techniques did I have to use? What barriers were there for me to get through? Whatever it might. What antennas did I have to like redesign or something to be able to get that station or whatever into the logbook? So I've been wanting to find a way to do that, almost like a journal approach to the logbook, but I hadn't really found a way to do that yet until now. So last night I logged the new DX Central blog for our logbook. It's our log blog. log. So you'll see here my first, I got one post here saying hello, and then this is the new one, the actual post itself right here. And this goes into the detail we talked about earlier about KNWN and CKWX, and all of that is outlined in here as well, including the Manitoba stuff. So, and then a couple of other little call outs that I had. So if you've ever wanted to know like the behind the scenes of what got us there, right? So we all talk about, I got 12 new ones this week. Well, what did you do? How'd you do that? How'd you get 12 new ones this week? This is where I'm gonna put all that. I'm gonna put this in here. It's mostly for me. Like, you guys may never read it. That's fine. It's for me, so I can remember, because my memory is not great like it used to be. I used to have ironclad memory. Now it's not so much. So this is an opportunity for me to be able to remember 10 years from now, 20 years from now, the work that went into it, right? How did I get to that point of putting those stations in my logbook? So check it out, dxcentral.blogspot.com. You can bookmark it and go right to it, or you can go through our logbooks. It's on the AM and the FM logbook. So just something a little kind of cool that I thought I would share. So if you ever just want to know, because I don't always talk about it here on the live stream. I like to talk about you guys and what you're hearing, right? But if you ever want to know what we're hearing and kind of the thought process that went behind it, or the techniques that we use, or whatever, check out dxcentral.blogspot.com, and that's where you'll be able to find our blog about the stories behind the reception. So just a little cool little nugget that I thought I would share. All right, my friends, I think that's going to be it for tonight. 1500 to 1540, that's where you want to be tuning your radios, and dxchallenges.com, that's where you want to go to register so that you can participate in the challenge for this week 4. We'll be putting up the results from week 3 here shortly in the next day or so that you guys can go back and check that out on the previous week's page. And so there we go. And sometime in here soon, I'll probably put up the season to date somewhere. I don't know when. At some point, I'll put that in there. Take care, my friends. We appreciate you as always. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for all your support. We couldn't do this without you. You got us to 1,500 subscribers on YouTube. Never thought I'd be able to say that. I know for some streamers, that's not a big deal. 1,500, right? But for me, 1,500 talking about AM and FMDX, that's a big deal. I feel like that's a pretty big deal. So appreciate you guys. You make this happen. So thank you for all that you do to support us here at DX Central. From all of us, we appreciate you. Take care, 73, and best of DX. We'll see you next week.
This is DX Central Live. This is DX Central Live.